This week we will be previewing and predicting UFC London. We will be looking back at BAMMA 34 and the crowning of Rhys McKee as a world champion. We look back at Cage legacy and all the big talking points and stories from mixed martial arts this week.
You ever been in a boat before?
No.
You know how to swim?
No.
Don't fall out. Go on.
Welcome along to obviously Fight Talk episode 105. This is Noel O'Keefe and I am joined as always by the dashing Robert Palin.
Thanks, man.
Never gives it back. Thanks, Rob.
You're also dashing.
Thanks for big fucking time. Jeez, we're only seconds in and the first bit of profanity comes out. Shout out to our sponsors, Fight Star Ireland, The Fighter's Choice, MMAmix.com, and of course, the feelsupreme.co.uk. Go check them out. Get 10% off at the checkout. Use the code FIGHTTALK. And if you're a regular listener to the show, we'd ask you to share the content on social media, folks. And if you haven't already subscribed, just hit subscribe now so you don't miss out on the latest OFT content. And follow us on social media. Why not? Rob's always busy on it. On Twitter, we're at @talk_fight, and obviously Fight Talk everywhere else. Instagram, Facebook. What else is? Everything. But we're not also just a YouTube channel as well. So if you're watching us here on YouTube, thank you and nice one for joining us.
Yeah.
But if you're out and about, you can listen to all our episodes on iTunes or on our Android.
And you know as well, it works vice versa. If you're on audio, you can go to YouTube.
Exactly.
I don't know if you knew that, but you can.
Exactly, yeah. So we're on all wherever you get your podcast from, we're there. Just type in obviously Fight Talk. And sure, if you're feeling real sounding nice, why not leave a review too? It really helps the show. Thanks very much.
Do it.
This week, Rob, it's just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
So we're going back to the olden days. I don't think it's been just the two of us since episode 1.
I don't know about that now. We had to have had a guest. Probably, actually, yeah.
I think there's always been somebody lurking in the background.
Yeah, somebody like a Daniel Mulvaheady or something slipping in there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But just the two of us.
Be a bit of crack though, won't it?
Bit of crack. We will be breaking down, we'll be starting where we always start. We'll be looking at our, obviously, Fight Talk Quickfire News. This is where we've got 2 minutes on the clock. We talk about a subject for that 2 minutes. When the 2 minutes is up, it's up.
Some tasty news in there.
Unless we go overtime. We'll be looking ahead to UFC in London happening this weekend. It's Paddy's Day. You'll have a few Guinness, a few little jemmies, maybe a Suddy and Red, and you'll be watching fighting after the parade.
Why Suddy and Red when you said Guinness and Jamie's?
Because I love Suddy and Red.
Yeah, but it's not Paddy's Day.
I don't. Yeah, it's my.
Do you remember the milkshakes you used to get in McDonald's? The green yolks.
Milkshake.
What were they?
Used to the Shamrock Shake.
Shamrock Shake.
You used to do.
It sounds stupid, doesn't it? It sounds like something American would slag us over, like the Lucky Charms.
100% something.
Like Shamrock Shake.
Would order. Can I have a Shamrock Shake? 100%. But yeah, so you'd be Paddy's Day, you'd be at the parade, kids be wrecking your head all day, you'd be having a few pints, swamping the pints, and go home and watch the fights. Great stuff. Do you know who the parade leader thing is this year?
No.
An Irish actor in Game of Thrones.
Oh. Liam Cunningham.
That's him. Liam Cunningham is the parade ambassador.
Score.
Yeah, that was well done. I thought you were going to go with fucking, what's his name? Little Finger.
No.
With his little lips.
His little lips, what?
Yeah, this is what he does.
Liam Cunningham is a national treasure.
Yes. He sort of speaks like a Sean Connery.
He actually does. Yeah. Union Night.
I met him at BAMMA years ago. The first BAMMA show I done, people were saying, I wasn't watching Game of Thrones at the time, and everyone was like, the Game of Thrones actors are here. Yeah. And I'm like, going, all right, yeah. And I go, do you not watch Game of Thrones? Like, there's dragons in it, lads. Clearly I don't watch Game of Thrones. It's for children. There's dragons in it. It's make-believe. And I ridiculed it for years. And Liam Cunningham, I was like, he was in that movie, and I was talking about, the old Irish movies that like every Irish actor's in. And I was like, he's in that. He's like, that's in Game of Thrones. I'm like, again,
when
lads.
That shakes the barley.
I'm like, again, lads, Game of Thrones, no interest, zero. Now we love this shit. It's fucking phenomenal.
By the way, I met Liam Cunningham too. Have a guess where? Go on, do it. One shot, like I just did.
You met him in the cinema.
I did.
You're never out of the cinema. So unless you've met him here,
well done.
You've met him in the cinema. Yeah. Was he going to see his own movie?
No. I don't know why he was going to see. He was with his child. He's bringing his child to see something. Right. Because he was bringing his child to see his own movie, wouldn't it?
Narcissist. I really like him in Game of Thrones.
Does he like MMA, does he?
Well, he was at BAMMA. He was giving it socks at BAMMA.
Let's get him on the show.
Yeah, let's get him on the show.
Open invitation. If anybody knows Liam Cunningham,
I'm sure Farrell.
Farrell, tweet him.
Sort it out, yeah. We'll also be doing a weekend roundup this week, looking at BAMMA 34 and the crowning of the new lightweight champion, world lightweight champion, Rhys McKee. We'll be talking about that in depth. We'll be looking back at some of the card, but also we'll be looking at the no contest with Joy Perry, which was weird. Unfortunately, we don't have Dan on this week to talk referee's corner, and we can get Dan to clear it up a little bit. So we're just going to speculate and make bold things about it that could be completely wrong. And just look, it'd be worth it. And then as well, we're going to talk about Cage Legacy 7 that went down this Saturday night, passed in Drogheda, whatever, you know what I mean. Happened on Saturday night, Cage Legacy in Drogheda, and a scene, a triumphant return to the cage for Paddy the Hooligan Holohan. The main event is worth talking about. Incredible night for Irish MMA, I felt, Cage Legacy, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And we'll just ramble at the end a little bit about things that are just coming in. Yeah. Little conversation, little bit. So yeah, before we go, you thought I stopped it already. Subscribe if you haven't. Get onto iTunes and review. But more importantly, stay listening and don't turn off. I'm insufferable, but suffer with me. This is your obviously Fight Talk quick fire news. 2 minutes on the clock. And we are underway. Transgender woman Anne Ferraro defeats a man in an her MMA debut in Brazil. The bout took place on Saturday night in Brazil at Mr. Cage 34. Speaking before the fight to MMA Fighting, Anne said, "It's only fair for me to fight men. It's never crossed my mind to fight women because I think I'm too good. If I beat men my entire career, I can still beat them despite the hormone process. I only know that I'm good after I beat men. That's what makes me happy and hungrier to train. I don't think it's fair to fight women." Fallon Fox, Rob, you might remember, also competed in MMA but has fought in the women's division. But more so, my question or my hot take from this, Rob, is did common sense prevail in Brazil on Saturday night? It's worth mentioning before we start the clock that Anne was born a man and is now passing over to change gender to become a woman, but is competing in men's division, while Fallon Fox was born a man, has had a gender change, but is fighting in the women's division. So the question is, Rob, did common sense prevail in Brazil on Saturday night?
First off, it's a very touchy, and I think there hasn't been enough research on exactly what should be done. I know the Olympics are saying that transgender women should compete in women's sports. I know a lot of people have issues with that. I think on the face of things, when you look at it, I think to most people that would make more sense. I think when you immediately look at that and you see a man who's transgender or transitioning to a woman fighting men, that makes sense. When you say it the opposite way, it doesn't. But I did do a little bit of research on this, and there was a study done on the transgender process and what happens when a woman takes these hormones, or when a man takes these hormones for a certain period of time. And I know there's a lot of discussion. I know Rogan talks about it quite a bit, about just a man being physically stronger and having a physically stronger skeleton almost, which is true. But apparently, if you take these hormones for a certain period of time, all that does decrease, according to this study. And this was on the Washington Post. I'm not sure what the actual study was done on. So it's one of them ones that's weird. There was also that one where the wrestler, remember the wrestler a couple of weeks ago? It was a female.
As in fake wrestling, or actually?
No, amateur wrestler who is from Texas, and he was competing against females, but he's transitioning to a male. So it was a female who was transitioning to a male, but he had to compete against females. Okay. Or if it could have been wrong there.
But what you were saying, the study, I think a lot of study would need to go into, I think, because if you're saying it lowers your bone structure and stuff like that, surely if you're only starting the transition and you're still at the early stages of the transition, you're still going to have that naturally stronger male strength.
Yes.
For me, the way I look at this is, and this is, don't get me wrong, this is an ill-educated opinion, but from looking at this, you would not sanction Ronda Rousey to fight somebody in the bantamweight division, in the men's bantamweight division. So I don't see why this should be any different at this stage. Anne Verito is happy to compete against men, and her transition to change gender, she obviously feels, as she said herself, she still feels she wants to test herself against men. While Fallon Fox, if you've seen some of Fallon Fox's fights, she just does overstrength these women that she fights. So for me, I think, without study to back all of what you're sort of saying, if there's no real study done, I think common sense prevails here, where technically when you draw the curtains back, as you kept saying last week, Rob, if you draw the curtains back and put it right back down to the black and white of this, it is a man against a man. And I think it should stay that way for the time being until there's some study to show after a certain period of time that, yes, the body is different.
So the one I was talking about was his second name was Begg. So he asked to compete in the boys division, but wasn't allowed. He had to compete in the division that his gender was born in, so he had to compete against girls. And apparently he was being booed off the stage. He was winning everything, even though he asked. Again, it's one of them ones that it's a really weird one because, just to go a little bit over, if you're going to say, if you were saying that if a man transitioned to a female, and they go so far as where they're at a huge physical disadvantage against the male because their bone density has decreased, their testosterone has decreased, then you're looking at it a different way. It's a weird one. It's a very, very weird one.
We are going overtime here as well, but in some way it's almost like a young boy growing up. A young boy like 14 isn't going to fight a 22-year-old man because just their bodies are completely different.
Such a weird
I think a lot more has to go into it before this comes into before this becomes a regular feature, I suppose, or possibility. I think it has to be seen, number one, for both fighter safeties, and for both fighter safeties, I mean both.
Yeah.
The person who is the transgender and the person that they're fighting, it has to be proven to be safe for both.
Exactly, yeah. It's a weird grey area. Weird one.
Well over 2 minutes.
Yeah. Mirko Cro Cop versus Roy Nelson has brought attention to Bellator 200, not only for the matchup, but also due to Cro Cop's USADA ban. Bellator president Scott Coker spoke about this with Jim Edwards of MMANYTT.com, saying Mirko Cro Cop fights in Rizin in Japan, and USADA has a relationship with the UFC, and they're in Japan all the time. Why didn't they go after him 2 years ago when he started fighting in Rizin? This is a question just because he's fighting in Bellator at our 200 event. To me, it's like, if you want to take action, you should have took action a long time ago, because to me, honestly, when we booked it, we didn't even know there were issues. He's already fighting, so we thought he was able to fight.
I think Scott Coker is playing a little bit naive here as well. Yeah, of course he is. Yeah. We all know shit happens in Japan. But the interesting thing about this is Bellator 200 is in the UK.
Yeah.
So, again, I know the gentleman's name is
Mike
escaping.
Mazzulli.
There we go. Mike Mazzulli will be looking over this as the commissioners. USADA, technically, it's not a commission suspension or ban. It's a USADA. USADA are working closely with the UFC. And in a way, Coker, he is being coy. If USADA cared that much, why weren't they in Japan enforcing this? Roy Nelson, I know, spoke out about it as well, and Mirko answered back. But just from Bellator's point of view, of course it's going to spike up. Bellator are going to be having a big event, 200. They're going to have Mirko Cro Cop on it. Let's be honest, Mirko Cro Cop wasn't doing too well at the end of days UFC. Goes to Japan, wins a tournament, has been slaying dragons, and is now going to be fighting Roy Nelson. I know people have comebacks, but
what are you trying to say?
I'm just trying to say that he's having a good time since he's gone to Japan.
He's having a good time.
In some way, like if USADA have nothing to do with Bellator, fine, go for Bellator. But I think both are just, it's promotional tug of war there, and just sort of saying, hey, do things right. Yeah,
I agree. Scott Coker definitely knew he had issues. He had to have been advised by somebody that Mirko Cro Cop had issues. But do those issues actually stand for Bellator, and should they care about them? That's a weird question, because he was fighting in Japan, so I guess the suspension froze in a way because he wasn't fighting under the jurisdiction, I guess. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly how it works.
But the jurisdiction, you said they don't work with Rizin, or they don't work with Bellator, so...
Yeah, so should that stand? But then, if he was fighting not in the UK, if he was fighting under a commission in the States, would USADA say to those commissions that he's under this suspension, he shouldn't be given a license? Possibly, I don't know. But Mike Mazzulli might come out and say something. Who knows?
Look, it's like if you get sent off in a Champions League game, you're not banned for your league match the following week. You're only banned for the next Champions League game. Fair enough. It's an easy way. For American fans, they're going, what the hell is a Champions League? Ben Forsyth was ready and on weight and made weight to step into the Cage Legacy cage on Saturday night to take on Luis Correa in the light heavyweight division. Lightweight, Ben will thank me for that one. However, in a turn of events, Correa pulled from the fight 2 days out. No injury, no illness, but to take a fight against David Torella on Mixed Fight Events 35 in Valencia, Spain. Is this one of the worst acts of disrespect you've seen? He's obviously a Portuguese fighter, and he took the easier fight beside him in Spain and Valencia. But in an act of karma, Rob, that bout also fell through, so we didn't fight either. But yeah, just is it the worst case of disrespect or just lack of respect?
Yeah, it's not good. Definitely feel for Ben, and like I can not understand, but like obviously if he was offered a fight, say for more money, local, doesn't have to fly or whatever, you know, you can see why in his mind he'd think he could get that, but you're only as good as your word. If you accept a fight against somebody and you tell them you have to make weight, I know Ben made weight as well, and you tell them you have to make weight for this, we're here, and you're really affecting somebody else's paycheck, then that's a problem. It's not good. That is not good, and the promoters won't like that either. That's
another point of it, is that Cage Legacy will have had flights booked and paid for, hotels, and then getting on to Ben, just the lack of disrespect to show and the
promotion.
Like, you're signing a contract that they're like, the contract's obviously not worth the paper it's even written on, right? But you have agreed to fight another fighter who has gone through a training camp. To pull out 2 days beforehand is the ultimate smack in the face.
It's awful.
And I was talking to Ben on Saturday night at Cage Legacy, and he was really frustrated. Like, he was like, I tried to get a match everywhere. Sure. I've literally gone on to everyone from ONE FC to Brave to Bellator to Clan Wars. He said Decky and everything, and Sonic were trying everything for Cage Legacy to get a match. Light heavyweight division to try and get a match up here in Ireland is incredibly difficult. But I felt for Ben, because when Ben was with us there 2 weeks ago on the show with us, Ben really spoke about his mindset and how he's really sharpening his mind frame and everything coming into fight. So again, this is just a matter of Ben just being sidelined for the weirdest of reasons, and I honestly think that Ben Forsyth, Will Flurry and Chris Fields have ticked every possible box of a fight falling through on you.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. Up next, Max Holloway spoke about a potential move up to 155 and said he'd rather take on Khabib Nurmagomedov than Conor McGregor. Speaking with Mike Finch from Cage Fantastics, Holloway said, you know, everybody's talking about me and a guy too, that Irishman. Everybody wants to see us run it back. Everybody seems to be not talking about Khabib. I want Khabib. You know, to be the best, you've got to beat the best, and the best... You got to beat the best, and one of those guys is Khabib.
Isn't it? It's refreshing in a way. A great fight. Yeah. It's refreshing in a way.
I think Max knows what he's doing.
Yeah, a fighter's not calling out Conor McGregor.
It's good.
Everybody's calling out Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And like, reading into the article as well, and the interview, looking at the interview, like, he's sort of saying, you know, Conor's had one fight in 55. So if I move up to 55 and beat Conor, I've really beat a featherweight who's fighting at 55. So he knows Khabib is in there. Khabib's undefeated. He's the big name. He's like, if Khabib beats Ferguson, it's a huge fight.
Yeah.
He also said, and just to add that 170, I'm a big guy. 170 is not too far away as well. Max Holloway is an absolute beast,
savage.
But Mr. Holloway, I know he's only talking about, you know, I'd say to Holloway, it's the one thing that follows him around is to run it back, get the revenge win over Conor McGregor. That probably plagues him. It's probably in most interviews that he does or any interaction he sees that defeat to Conor McGregor. So it's the one thing he probably does want the revenge, but at the same time, Max Holloway has got his hands full with Brian Ortega.
Oh, yeah.
Do not look too far ahead, Mr. Holloway. An incredible fight. If any of these fights that we've just mentioned happen, I would watch Max Holloway have a fight in a chipper in Sallynoggin or in Ballymun or in Belfast or in Hawaii. If he was in getting a fish and chip and a fight broke out, I would sit down and watch Max Holloway fight.
Either fight, Khabib or Conor, would be amazing. Of course you want to see the rematch, but I think Max Holloway's been really, really smart with what he's saying, and he's been saying this for a long time. He said that if the fight doesn't happen, it's not because I'm not accepting the fight, it's because Conor's not accepting the fight, and I think that's really, really smart on his behalf. I think if the fight happens, brilliant. If it doesn't happen, I genuinely don't think he's gonna really care. He's making a good bit of money now being the champion. If he moves up to 55, fights Khabib, that's a big fight as well. Connor's like the biggest fight there, but I just think it's smart what he's saying.
Scott Coker and why MVP and Paul Daly have not fought. I think that's something you need to ask Paul Daly. Coker told MMAANYTT.com on Friday.
I've been doing work.
Yeah, he's the one that said he wanted to fight Page, called him out, and then he changed his mind. Maybe he'll change his mind again. But we're always going to ask, I can assure you. But now Paul Daly has had his say, and he says Scott has his opinion. It's his view. He's bitter. Daly responded in a text to MMA Junkie. He just wanted the Page fight on his timing. They didn't want to give me Fitch fight. I forced a hand, no matter how much tried to deny it. I've asked for both contracts at the same time. I'll sign both. I have the Fitch contract. We just got to negotiate the Page contract, and I will sign that too. This MVP Daly has been really dragging it out. I remember speaking to both Paul Daly and MVP around about this time last year in Belfast.
Yeah.
And it sort of looked like the fight was really the next thing for both fighters. At the time, Daly was scheduled to fight Rory McDonald.
Yeah.
And even at the Rory McDonald fight, they went for one another in the crowd.
Yeah,
so
I remember that.
It seemed like this fight was going to happen eventually, but now it just seems like it's getting dragged out constantly. Like it's
losing steam.
Yeah, and it's like MVP has gone off and boxed. Daly has fought a couple of times since. And I think Daly feels MVP. In a way, I think, I could be wrong, but just my interpretation of looking at everything, it's almost Daly feels like MVP is getting a good rub, getting the rub of the green, getting promoted right, and you know, they're giving him this fight, while Daly feels he had to earn to where he's at now, so he feels Page should have to earn to fight him.
Yeah.
In some ways it's like that, but it's a fight you'd love to see happen. Will it happen? I don't think so.
It's one of them ones where I'm kind of tired of talking about it, because it seems to be hearsay more so than anything, and these are the type of stories I hate commenting on, because who knows who's telling the truth, who knows, and even if everybody's telling the truth from their perspective, as you know, like everyone has a story, and then there's obviously the truth. So I hate commenting on any of these stories, because we don't know what's actually happening.
Well, you got to throw in as well, Daly only a couple of weeks ago was putting out, get me out of this contract, I want to fight and stuff. So it seems he's unhappy. He's unhappy at Bellator. Maybe was that to get the Fitch fight.
He's kind of burning bridges, isn't he, with promoters? Yeah. He's burnt the ultimate bridge with Dana White in the UFC for punching Koscheck after the bell. And now with Bellator, he doesn't have the best relationship with them. And who else is there in this game? Is he going to go to Rise and he's going to fight locally with BAMMA or something like that? KSW maybe, yeah. So he's burning some bridges, Mr. Paul Daly.
He is indeed.
And that's it.
Last bit of news that came in, and the late one was Rashad Evans is returning to 205. The former UFC low heavyweight champion will be back at light heavyweight when he takes on Anthony Smith at UFC 225 on June 9th. Rashad needs a win, doesn't he?
Yeah, Rashad needs a win. It's kind of a little bit difficult to get excited about Rashad Evans' fight, and that's nothing against Rashad Evans as he was. It's just recently he hasn't competed at the ability that we know he can compete at, and we know that he's competed at before. Is it just age? Is it age catching up with him? You know, he's been in there many, many times. He just hasn't got a win in a long time. He hasn't looked great. It's difficult to get excited for a fight, but I think this is a decent matchup. It's not somebody, you know, in the top 5 or something who'd have been throwing Rashad Evans against. So yeah, it's a decent matchup.
Evans' last fight was against Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey has since moved up and being victorious at 205 as well. But no disrespect to any of Evans's most recent. You can see he started, you know, the Bader fight, then Glover, then Daniel Kelly, Sam Alvey, and now Anthony Smith. So it's you know, how long is Rashad going to keep going? It's a weird one. Yeah,
it is a very weird one. It doesn't seem, when he's in the fight, he doesn't seem like...
it doesn't feel like the trigger is going to be pulled.
Yeah, he seems a little bit shot. He seems a little bit shot, and it's hard to say that, and I don't like saying that about fighters, but he just doesn't seem like he can pull the trigger. We know that his chin has been tested quite a bit. He's been knocked out. So, you know...
See, I think what happens is, Brennan Shaw was actually saying this on his the Big Brown Breakdown, but it's now called the Below the Belt Breakdown. When he had Brian Ortega on it, he was saying to Brian, you know, I picked Frankie in the fight. He goes back with Ortega, like way back. I tell anyone to listen. It was actually brilliant with Brian Ortega. But
Henner.
Yeah, Henner Gracie as well. It was excellent. But I want one of them hoodies, by the way. But yeah, he was sort of saying to Ortega that, you know, I picked Frankie because I know Frankie, the superstar, but I still think of you as this young, nervous kid. And he said, I do the same with Stipe. I don't think you've evolved. And then I see you, like, holy shit, this guy is unbelievable. He said, so in my mind, you're still that young kid. You're still that young guy. So I think in our minds, a lot of us, like, people who've been watching MMA for a long time, like I remember Rashad in the heavyweights in The Ultimate Fighter, and you look at Rashad knocking people out, like knocking chocolate Dell out.
It's your best memory of him. Yeah, your clearest memory of.
So when you think of Rashad Evans, that's how you think of him in the case. So when we look at him in his last few fights, you're going, ugh.
Yeah.
Well, if you were a new guy to MMA, you're only start watching MMA last 3 or 4 years. You're looking at Rashad Evans going, this guy's brutal. Like, why is he still fighting? Do you know what I mean? And it's like the Ultimate time. I remember I was out and there was Ultimate Fighting. The UFC was on the TV.
Fighting.
And it was just like highlights, and it was Weidman knocking out Anderson Silva, and some guy in the pub said, Anderson Silva, that fella's brutal. I don't know why he's still fighting. And you're going, new to it, I see.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's wrap it up there. That was our obviously Fight Talk quick fire news.
There's a card this weekend. I think we should talk about that next.
UFC London, Rob. Paddy's Day. Ireland could win the Grand Slam in the rugby.
Yeah.
UFC is on. It's my young lad's birthday.
Yeah. What times are they on actually? Does it clash?
Shouldn't
clash.
No, it shouldn't clash.
No.
Don't think so.
No.
Yep. Let's move on. UFC London, mate. Happy St. Patrick's Day will be brought to you proudly by UFC Fight Night 127 Werdum Volkov. Rob, people have given out about this card, saying, you know, they didn't bring the superstars. Look, it's time to stop the cribbing and the crying now. It's starting, it's happening. Werdum, one of the best heavyweights on the planet, taking on Volkov. So the main event, we're going to start at the top of the card and work our way down. So what's your take on this main event, Rob?
It's a great fight. Whatever way you put it, Volkov is making his way up that division, up the rankings. Fabricio Werdum has been one of the best heavyweights forever, for a long time. And he's held the title, he's competed for the title a couple of times. So to be honest, it is a great main event. I just think that a lot of people were expecting some kind of superstar, maybe more representative of the local audience. But I think the fight is a really, really competitive and good fight.
When you look at for Volkov, he's taken a jump up in class here as well. No disrespect again. You know, Timothy Johnson in his UFC debut, then he beat Roy Nelson by unanimous decision. And then TKO'd Stefan Struve back at UFC Fight Night 115. So it's a big step up in Fabricio. Fabricio is sort of, everyone, you got to give it to Fabricio. Everyone was sort of saying he's probably going to be next for Stipe again, and that'll be the rematch. But Fabricio was staying active, staying busy, and in a way, this fight was not really short notice, but it wasn't your normal long. They needed a main event, and Fabricio stood up to it here. Yeah,
Fabricio doesn't seem to mind taking short notice fights anyway. He had that Walt Harris fight. I guess Fabricio kind of looked at Walt Harris as a, maybe a prospect who isn't quite up to his level, and we saw that there was just different levels of the ground game then. So it's definitely a step up for Volkov. It's going to be an interesting one because Fabricio, it's weird. He's a grappler, but he's really developed his striking game lately, over the past few years, to be competitive with pretty much anyone in the division. If you watch any of his fights, even against the good strikers in the division, it's not like back in the day where he used to try pull guard all the time. His Muay Thai game is actually pretty much up to scratch with everybody else, and he's pretty good pretty much everywhere. I think on the feet, in the clinch he's very good, and he's very active. I think that's going to be one of the big factors of this fight, where Volkov doesn't have the best gas tank at the heavyweight division. He has a really good gas tank for the first round. Sometimes that starts to really wane. It's going to be 5 rounds, the main event, and you could see in his last fight he started to slow down. So I think if Fabricio can do what he does, like against Cain Velasquez, where he really put the pressure on early with his strike and landed shots from the outside, landed his leg kicks. He has great leg kicks. His high kicks as well are beautiful. And then when he gets into range, he likes to get that Muay Thai clinch, land knees to the body, land elbows, land shots from there as well. So I think if you can really overwhelm Volkov, it could be really good game plan for him. But the mad thing is, he just doesn't shoot for as many takedowns as you think. He shoots against guys who he knows, I'm going to get a takedown against him. He'll go for it, but he just doesn't shoot that many takedowns anymore. He kind of almost falls into them.
Just what you were saying with it in and around the striking as well. Like if you look at, like, he made obviously a huge mistake against Stipe, where for whatever reason he decided to run forward towards Stipe, and he got clipped and got put out. But like, I think in some ways he's happy to clinch, land the knees, like you were saying, the thigh, because if someone grabs a leg and takes him down, he doesn't mind being there.
He almost wants to be there.
Exactly,
so it's not
yeah. So he doesn't mind committing to a kick if he throws a kick. But for me here, Fabricio probably wins this fight. He's probably the next title challenger after DC and Stipe do their thing. So I think it'd be smart to stay out of the stand up with Volkov here. Volkov, this is what, as you said, he starts fast. So don't allow him that opportunity. Don't test your ego and try.
I don't think you will, because Werdum, like, looking at that fight where he walked into Stipe, I think looking back at his last fight against Tybura, like, although Tybura is on a different level, I think what he showed in that fight when he was coming forward and he was being defensively sound, that he made them improvements. He doesn't want that to happen again. Now, if he comes up against someone like Stipe, who's a good counter puncher, maybe it could happen again. But from what I seen, I thought that he made some improvements in his striking defense coming forward. Volkov, he's obviously a big guy. He likes to fight. Although he's not great at fighting behind his jab, but that's kind of like what he likes to do. But if you watch, say, the Stefan Struve fight, and Stefan Struve doesn't fight behind the jab, Stefan Struve could get in on him.
A picture of me last week going,
yeah.
Sorry.
Stefan Struve could get in on him, and he landed some good shots from the clinch. So I think Werdum's a way better clinch striker than Stefan Struve. But it'd be interesting if he can get a takedown for Werdum, because we haven't seen Volkov off his back a whole lot.
Yeah.
And Werdum likes to get that single leg as well. And Volkov, the way he fights is generally his lead leg is way forward. He has a very wide stance, so that single leg could come in there as well. I just think Werdum on the feet, I think he can deal with whatever Volkov can do. Although Volkov can kind of fight in them crazy sports, like really quick and then stop, and really quick and then stop. I think Werdum can take advantage of when he stops in that area. But I'm gonna go with Werdum. Finish. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a finish. I'm gonna say Volkov is gonna slow down and he's gonna get a finish in, say, the third round. Some kind of submission, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's gonna weather any storm. I think he is gonna. Werdum, I think he likes testing his abilities as well. It's not like when he was fighting back when he fought Fedor, and was literally like, as well, you know, he pulled down into the guard where he was fighting Alistair Overeem that time, more so actually rather than the Fedor fight, where he was just begging.
He's got really good on his feet. He got good enough to compete with pretty much anyone in the division.
So I think he'll happily mix that up, close the distance, get some sort of takedown.
Cardio's quite good as well.
Yeah, he is for a big man as well. Yeah,
and doesn't have that physique of what you think a cardio machine would have.
Hopefully, he doesn't do that face. He does that.
Oh yeah, you don't like that, don't you?
It annoys me. But yeah, I'm going to go with Werdum, sub here as well, either in the second or third round, just to do his game. I just don't think there's anybody in the heavyweight division that if Fabricio Werdum gets on top of you or is on the ground with you that is going to get out of it. So I'm going to go with Werdum, submission as well. Your co-main event is woman with local interest, a rematch. Jimi Manuwa. Jesus Christ, no, you really played that one. Jimi Manuwa taking on... when did they fight, dude?
That's Skype connecting.
We're
having terrible internet issues here. We'll see now after this.
When did these fight before? Jan...
Jesus, they fought a long time ago. Was that like 2 years ago or something? Maybe 3 years ago?
And this was...
I can check it. I have Google here.
This was one of the fights that, when this was announced, it looked like this was going to be the main event. And a lot of people sort of went, ugh, to this. They went unanimous. It was back in 2015. Yeah, April 2015.
3 years to the day, or 3 years to the month almost.
Yeah. So, what's going to be different this time around? Jimi Manuwa, of course, coming off a devastating knockout loss to Volkan Ozdemir. That's going to, like, if you look at the way he's lost in his last two losses are against Anthony Rumble Johnson and Ozdemir, both in devastating fashion.
And then Gustafsson before that.
Yeah, so just...
That's the thing. That was the point I was going to bring up. Jimi Manuwa, it's well documented how late he started MMA and how good he's got since he started MMA. It's crazy to think that he's 38, doesn't have a whole lot of fights. So you can look back at his career and you can say, well, he's 38, but he hasn't been in so many wars that it's like a crazy number, like a Dan Henderson or something like that at 38. But if you look at the way he's lost, as you said, those 3 knockout losses are just devastating knockout losses, like clean, out cold, career-changing knockout losses. So when he's coming into this one, he won the last fight, but he's coming into it off the back of probably the worst knockout loss that he's had of Volkan. Not only did Volkan knock him out, but when he hit the floor and his head bounced, and it was just a vicious one. That's 3 knockout losses in your career in the UFC within the space of 2 years. At 38, that can't be good.
No.
Definitely can't be good. So that's something that I feel like you really have to take into account. The first fight wasn't a runaway either. The first fight was pretty much a stand-up fight with Jimi Manuwa coming forward and Jan Błachowicz just trying to counter from the outside. And I don't feel like the fight will look a whole lot different. And I think if it does look the same, if it's going to be Jimi Manuwa coming forward and Jan Błachowicz just trying to counter, I think Jimi Manuwa can still win this fight. But I think if Jan Błachowicz can start coming forward, start pressing the action, he could do something different. Because I feel like even though Jimi Manuwa is an excellent striker, I feel like Tybura is probably a more diverse striker. He can do a little bit more, whereas Jimi Manuwa has probably the X factor of the bigger punches, the more flashier knockouts, that kind of stuff. But I just feel like Jan Błachowicz can do a little bit more. I think he can fight backwards a little bit better. I think if Manuwa gets pushed backwards, I'm not sure he could fight as well as Jan Błachowicz could fight going backwards. If you agree with that.
That sounds hard to say. Jan Błachowicz going backwards.
Yeah. But I nailed it.
Yeah, you absolutely nailed it. Yeah. In some ways, I have to stop saying I'm saying it a lot. I keep going in some ways, Jimi Manuwa, I think, underestimate is probably the wrong thing to say, but I think he thought he had the beating of Volkan Ozdemir, and I think thought he had the beating.
Nobody knew who Volkan was, really.
Exactly. And then Volkan just landed that. Because I remember watching it, and Jimmy had him up against the cage, and it looked like Jimmy was just going to go dirty boxing uppercuts today. Yeah. And it looks just like that was going. Next minute, all of a sudden, Manuwa was falling backwards, and you were sort of having, what happened? So I think as much as it was a heavy knockout, the fact it's in London, Jimi Manuwa, local lad, coming back, has a win over Błachowicz already. So yeah, I'm going to go with Jimi Manuwa here. I hope, like a lot of the times when you watch Jimi Manuwa, some of his fights, he goes absolutely headhunting, but it's when he works and sets up the knockouts that they really come.
Yeah.
Like where the KO of Oven St. Peru, where he basically boxed him around the cage, he literally followed him, just knocking him out all the way along. Yeah,
the left
my
hook.
God. But Jimi Manuwa is in English Anthony Rumble Johnson in so many ways. But if Jan can take him into the deep waters in the later rounds, it'd be interesting to see how the gas tank holds up as well, being 38 years of age.
And the chin. You have to wonder about that.
Yeah, but I think Ozdemir has sort of shown when he lands on people, that's what happens. Yeah. Anthony Rumble Johnson, when he lands on people, we see what happens. So
of course, that's the thing I was going to say, was that you can't say, oh, maybe he has a poor chin because he got knocked out by these guys. But what I mean is, he's been knocked out 3 times now, and he's 38. Now you have to start thinking, is he eventually going to get there? Where his chin is going to start to degrade? I
agree with that as well, though. I think knockouts and stuff like that, almost like, I use the video game analogy every time, but it's almost like, when your full energy regains, it never gets back to 100%. Yeah. And I'd agree with that with knockouts. Like when you have a knockout bar, when you get knocked out, it depletes, and then when it energizes, it's not as strong as it was. And then again, it doesn't quite get there. So that's certainly a fact. Will we see the answers? We will on Saturday night. But I'm going to go with Manuwa here for the home crowd win here. The fact it's in London is a big deal for him as well. Potentially could be his last fight though as well. 38 years of age, that weight class. Do you see Jimi Manuwa pushing for the belt in that division?
I don't, but I still see him getting a few more fights. Unless he loses,
exciting fighter.
Very, very exciting. The reason why I'm going to agree with you and I'm going to go with Manuwa as well is because looking back on the first one and looking at Błachowicz since then, I don't know what he's going to do to change what he did in that fight. As in, in all of his fights, pretty much most of them, he'll allow the guy to take the center and allow to control the dance. And I just feel that if you let Jimi Manuwa, like in the first fight, control the dance, take the center, he's just really comfortable there. I think he's too comfortable there, and I don't think Błachowicz is going to be able to counter him. But if he starts coming forward, he starts trying to mix it up, maybe go for a few takedowns, maybe look for a clinch, it could be a different fight. But I just feel like he's going to fall into that game that he's fell into in a lot of fights, and he's lost a lot of decisions. And he hasn't been knocked out either, Błachowicz, so that's a big point for him. But he's fell into that thing of allowing the other guy to take the center, get the offense, and just try counter. And it's difficult to win fights like that on decision. So I'm going to go with Jimi Manuwa. I'm going to say decision.
Excellent. Done it again. Stop saying Tom Duquesnoy, Terrion Ware. This is the Fire Kid making his return from his last defeat at the hands of Cody Stamann. So again, this would be a big test, but for me, this is almost like a hometown fight for Tom Duquesnoy.
In a way, yeah.
Of course, obviously with London different, he would have fought in Birmingham a lot, fought over here in Dublin, but I mean over this side of the world, obviously Tom Duquesnoy is a Frenchman. Terrion Ware, his opponent, is currently lost his last 2 fights to Sean O'Malley and Cody Stamann.
He's had a tough run.
So he's had a tough run, and then he's getting Tom Duquesnoy, so he's not getting any easier. But for me, what will be interesting here is to see Tom Duquesnoy after this loss, because in the Stamann fight, I think a lot of people were surprised that come the third round, Cody Stamann was winning the stand-up. Yeah. And I don't think any person picking fights was putting that as a possible.
If you were going to pick Stamann, it would have been just outpointing him on the floor, getting up against the cage, stuff like that. But yeah, you start outstriking him.
He did. He was picking Tom Duquesnoy apart. Tom Duquesnoy, we spoke about it before. He's the potential is in there in Tom Duquesnoy, but one of Tom Duquesnoy's biggest flaws is Tom Duquesnoy gets hit.
Yes,
he does get hit. So he's got to address that. I'm sure he has. He's only young. I'm not too sure what age Tom Duquesnoy is. He must be only in his early 20s, is he?
Want to continue?
But it's something that he needs to correct, especially at this level of fighting as well. There's no easy fights in the UFC. A lot of people, like, I know Cody Stamann, when he was on with us, was, again, he felt that Tom Duquesnoy was getting the promotional rub and that type of thing. I think it was warranted. Where you look at some of the knockouts over, like the Shea Walsh, the Damian Rooney knockouts on Duquesnoy, the performances he had, the finish of Alan Philpott. Tom Duquesnoy, the hype is real in that sense, and you can't blame the UFC for wanting to promote that. But the one thing you can't hide behind hype is when someone is getting hit. Yeah. Alan Philpott really tested Tom Duquesnoy that night in Dublin. And Duquesnoy stood up to the challenge and came back and got the victory. But when you're fighting in the UFC, there's not really room for forgiveness. If you're there and you're getting hit, these guys are going to be willing to take advantage of that. And when you look at the Stamann fight as well, the getting hit like that, not only does it hurt, but it depletes the gas tank. It empties the gas tank, it slows you down. And he had nothing in the third round. Yeah. And the third round was a comfortable third round for Cody Stamann. Yeah. So Tom Duquesnoy, has he addressed that? Will he fight differently? Will we see a more moving Tom Duquesnoy? He sort of used to go for that style because he'd take your shot to land his, but his shots could finish you. As I mentioned, like that finish of Shea Walsh in Birmingham that night, holy lamb of God, one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen live.
It's scary.
So
scary.
He has the potential there.
And the Rooney one was scary.
Yeah, right in front of me. Rooney just looking like shark eyes at me when it happened. But insane knockouts. Terrifying. But Duquesnoy's got things to correct. He is young. He's only a young mixed martial artist. So there's the time is there to do them. Has he done them in time for this fight? I'm interested to see. When these young fighters, we always say, Rob, I'm like a broken record with this. When these young fighters go away and are gone for a while, like when was that Stamann fight? That was back in October. Yeah. So when they go away, we're 5 months. The improvements in that time frame, especially, I'm sure he's over in Jack Winklejohn, working with Manu Shadow as well. So I'm expecting to see a much more improved Tom Duquesnoy, and even saying that sounds deadly. Yeah, it's a really, really good fight. I feel like it's a perfect matchup for Tom Duquesnoy. Not as in it's favourable. I think it is favourable in a way, but I also think it's a perfect matchup from the UFC because I think that Terrion Ware is the type of guy who Tom Duquesnoy can have trouble with. I think Terrion Ware, if you look at his fight with Cody Stamann, look at his fight with Sean O'Malley, he really pushed the action, he really stayed in there, didn't get finished, and stayed in there to the end. And I think when you look back at the Stamann fight versus Tom Duquesnoy,
Stamen was a similar fighter in the sense of he's going to stay in there, he's going to push the action, he's not going to back down. And I think Tom Duquesnoy sometimes has problems when guys come at him. Remember the Brendan Loughnane fight? That was a very, very close fight. Brendan Loughnane didn't really give him an inch.
A lot of people thought Loughnane won that fight.
A lot of people thought he won the fight. I thought it was close. But you look at the Philpott in the first round. Philpott kept coming forward, didn't give him an inch. The Stamen fight as well. So I think with losing his name here. With Terrion Ware here, he's a really good boxer. So if in the first round Tom Duquesnoy can't start landing his good shots and Terrion Ware can start taking over, I think it could be a really interesting matchup. I think on paper you have to side with Tom Duquesnoy. I think he's the more talented fighter, but I just think Terrion Ware is the type of guy that you're not going to have a beautiful performance against. I think if Tom Duquesnoy wins this, it might be a little bit ugly at times. I don't think it's going to be a perfect performance where he gets a finish really early. I think it's going to be a tough one. It might be a decision. It might be one of them ones where he gets hit again. I just hope he has corrected that issue that he's had, because it's definitely an issue. It's something that he brought up that he wanted to fix. So, I'm going to go with Tom Duquesnoy, but I really think that this could be a tough fight for him. I think it could be a tough one. I think on paper, when you're looking at Terrion, where you're like, oh, he's 0-2 in the UFC, but they're two really good guys. And he wasn't,
look at what Sean O'Malley done last week. You know,
exactly. And he wasn't blown out of the water against either. So it's a close one. On paper, you have to go with Tom Duquesnoy. I just think that he is the better fighter. So I'm going to say Tom Duquesnoy, but probably a decision. I don't know if he's going to finish him.
A couple of things you're saying were favourable, and I really do emphasise the fact that it's in the UK. I really think that's favourable for him. You know, his first fight in the UFC, he got the knockout in the second round over Patrick Williams, and then obviously the Stamen loss. I came as a surprise to Tom Duquesnoy, obviously, but I think he's going to want to correct a lot of wrongs here and show that the hype is real, and it's going to be a hungry young Frenchman in there. So I am going to go with the Fire Kid as well, and I agree with you, Rob. I think it's going to be a hard fight.
I think it's going to be a tough one.
I think it, as in,
where is
by
tough?
Hard as well, I don't mean, I just mean it's going to be, he's really going to have to dig deep in some moments.
I don't think it's going to go all his way. I don't think it's going to go all his way, even if he wins.
But that could be a good fight for Tom Duquesnoy.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's a good matchup. I think it's a good test for him. And Tom Duquesnoy, when we were speaking with him on the show here, he's definitely the type of guy who comes off as he wants to fight the best guys. He wants to be in there. He wants to be challenged. And that's one of the reasons why he didn't immediately go to the UFC. It's not just about the money or making a name. It's to be the best. And I think he'll really love this fight if it is a test for him. But it's a good fight. It's a really good fight.
I'm going to go with Tom Duquesnoy, and a decision. Tom Duquesnoy again. I don't think he'll stop him. I just think it's a good fight for him to get cage experience, to get used to the UFC campus. I just think I know.
Had a terrible run, as in not
as in just the people he's getting matched against.
Fuck. Yeah. What did he do to Sean Shelby?
But this is what you were talking about when we had Cody on about the young upcoming fighters, the young new breed of MMA fighters. So again, he's getting put in there with a Tom Duquesnoy, and you could argue the point that, Ware's getting this guy at the right time, coming off a loss. He's only young, so from Ware's point of view, it's like, I'd rather fight Tom Duquesnoy now rather than 2 years' time.
Our point of view, it's like, she's getting a terrible run, but he's like, I love this fight. This is Tom Duquesnoy's a big name, and he's coming off a loss. I love it.
And that's one thing that Cody Stamen said as well. Cody wasn't getting any hype. He goes out and beats Tom Duquesnoy, and then all of a sudden people are talking about Cody Stamen. So it's certainly a point. Another local UK fighter, Leon Roberts, of course, brother of Fabian, who we on last week, is taking on Peter Sobotta, the German, against the UK man. So there's a fun rivalry already before we get into this. But what's your thoughts and takes in this one up?
First one is Sobotta hasn't fought since May of 2017, and I was like, why hasn't he fought in so long? Googled it. Remember, he broke his hand against Ben Saunders, and apparently the surgeons had to take some bone from his hip to fix his hand.
Wow.
It was a crazy surgery he had to get. So first things first is May 2017 hasn't fought almost a year. And I doubt he done too much sparring or training with that hand.
That's true, yeah.
So that's a big factor going into this fight. But looking at this one, I feel like both guys are similar in the sense of they're both really well-rounded. They prefer to strike, and they're both good strikers, but they have good ground games as well. So I think it's going to be, the majority of the fight is going to be on the feet, and it's going to be really about who can get their jab going, who can dominate the range. But it's almost like a unorthodox fighter versus more of an orthodox fighter, whereas Leon Edwards, I think he looks like a more classically trained kickboxer, whereas Sobotta will drop his hands and he'll land these weird shots from weird angles and stuff. But they're both pretty good strikers and they have power. So I think it could be an excellent fight. I think it's a great opener for the card.
Yeah, I agree that this is it's a very they're very
well matched.
Yeah, if these were trop hunt cards and you were playing trop hunt against one, and you go power, you're like 78. Oh, I'm 79. Oh, there you go. You know what I mean? I think a lot of them when you match them up they're very even in skills. Time away, a year. You know, we're talking about a year, whatever. Like, is a year that long nowadays?
No, it's not that long. But I just think the problem is the broken hand.
Yeah, like you look at young Paul Hughes, the issues Paul's had with his hands. You know, Jesus, Paul, shout out to you, my man. Hopefully the hands heals and get back in there.
This is first fight back. Like, he might be a little bit hesitant throwing that hand. I'm not sure. I guess it was his. I don't know what hand it was actually. What is he? Let me check his.
Yeah, but Sobotta it's an evenly matched fight. Leon Edwards is having a great time since he's gone to the UFC as well. He's on a good run.
He's a southpaw, so I guess it was probably his left hand.
He's currently on a 4-fight win streak as well. So you know, confidence will be high for Leon Edwards coming into this. The fact that he's fighting in the UK as well, that's going to come into play as
big
well.
Big time.
Man,
and Fabian just won as well. So
exactly.
That's going to give him a bit of a boost. I think it's an interesting one because just looking at there, they're both southpaws. So Leon Edwards is really good with that liver kick, but that's not really there anymore. Southpaw versus southpaw. It is, but not quite as, it's not an open stance. So it'd be interesting to see. And then I suppose the jab is even way more important now. Both have similar reach.
I think worth noting as well, though, and it's what Fabian done at the weekend as well, is that when it goes to the ground, Leon Edwards can just snap up a submission like that. So he has it. Like, again, it's almost similar to what I was saying with Werdum. He's comfortable in the strike and he's comfortable throwing kicks because he knows if it goes to the ground, he can pull off submission. But very closely, I'm interested to see actually.
It's a good fight.
Fill airtime there. I'm going to check the odds here actually on this just to see.
Yeah, it's I just feel for me, and the reason why I'm siding towards Edwards is just I feel that technically he's a little bit better on the feet. I think he can. I just think he can land the better shots. I think Sobotta, although he has probably comparable power in a way, and he can land those big shots, I just feel like Edwards is going to be able to outpoint him with his more technically crisp striking. He's very, very technical on the feet. Again, on the floor, I think similar enough, but I think Edwards takes it. He's excellent submissions, and I just feel like that broken hand is a tough one. It's a year out with a broken hand, and a severely broken hand too. Ouch.
I'm tutting at the moment, just looking on a certain website because they only have odds for the main and co-main. So I'm on a different website now that looks like it doesn't have them either. That's interesting. That
a bit closer to the fight.
Yeah, but it's quite interesting. Two big bookmakers there only have the Manuwa and Werdum fight up.
Yeah.
Look at a rival website.
A rival website.
But I think it's a close.
Bookmakers you used.
I think it's a close fight, but I would lean towards Leon Edwards, not just because Leon is no backwards, but I just think he's
very good,
sharper. His tools are just a little sharper.
I agree.
Leon Edwards.
So under the radar picks, is there any fights on the prelim card that you're looking at? You're like, oh, this is an excellent fight.
The finally happening debut of the white Mike Tyson, John Phillips, taking on Charles Bird. If you haven't seen John Phillips fight before, boy, are you in for a treat. John Phillips kills or gets killed. Basically, his own words. He wants to go in there and he's gone in there to take Charles Bird head off. He wants it done within the first punch of the fight if he could. But he will throw kills into every shot he's thrown. Purely entertainment, John Phillips. He is unparalleled power. The power he throws in the shots is phenomenal. I've seen him knock people out live and it's devastating. I've seen him hit pads and I feel sorry for his pad man. So I'm really excited for the UFC debut of John Phillips.
Yeah, it's an excellent fight. And just looking at the card, this is like the card of the past guests. There's so many past guests in this card, it's crazy. So we have Tom Duquesnoy is on the card, past guest.
Yeah.
John Phillips, past guest. Then we have Danny Henry's on the card, which that's a fight I'm looking forward to. Danny Henry's debut was insane. Former EFC champ. Very, very good fighter. Paul Craig, past champ. That's a good
Past
fight.
guest.
Past guest.
Past
Past
champ,
champ as
BAMMA.
well.
Yeah,
BAMMA.
yeah.
And Stevie Ray. Past guest. And Mark Godbeer.
Godbeer.
So it's a lot of fights there with past guests, but they're all good fights.
Godbeer's got a very tough one against
that's a tough fight. And Stevie Ray, glad to see he's re-signed with the UFC. Cajun Johnson, I think.
Yeah.
I'd favour Stevie Ray in that one, but
you'd hope with
surprises
Stevie,
you.
everything Stevie went through with all that debacle.
If he gets a win, that'd be a huge moment for him, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
It would be nice to see, to be fair.
Badly needed as well. But yeah, there is a good few. The undercard, and this is the great thing about the London card, is like you've got Brad Scott taking on Jack Marsden as well. All local interest. Danny Roberts taking on in camp as well. All local, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of young UK fighters.
It's weird to see a London card with any Irish guys on it, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you think about it, like, there's not many Irish guys in there anymore.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
We're not, Series retired.
Yeah.
Paddy's retired. Carl's retired.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's Connor, Ash retired. You know?
That's true. Speaking of Paddy, I think what we can do now is we can talk about something that happened on the weekend involving Paddy Holohan.
Oh, himself.
See that transition?
That was beautiful.
That was masterful, wasn't it?
Let's do our weekend roundup.
I'm going to talk some BAMMA 34, is it?
34. BAMMA 34. Cage Legacy 7. And the Battle of the Microphone with the main event. This is your weekend roundup, and we are going to start at BAMMA 34. It took place in London in the SSE Arena in Wembley. Let's start with local interest or Irish interest, Rob. The world title was on the line. The BAMMA lightweight world title was on the line. It was a rematch between former guests Tim Barnett and Rhys McKee. These fought, Rob, back almost a year ago. Yeah. Nearly to the date a year ago in Belfast. The fight, Rhys McKee was due to fight... was it first he was due to fight... let me think about this correctly. Miles Price, Chris Stringer, and then Tim Barnett stepped in.
About a week notice, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Tim Barnett stepped in and got the victory in a first round TKO over Rhys McKee. Rhys, at the time, had said that he was sick. Everything went perfectly well for him. Had the weight cut. After the weight cut, just felt terrible.
Yeah.
Couldn't gain any weight. Couldn't drink. And he was in an awful state. But Tim Barnett came in, taking nothing away from Tim Barnett that evening. Came in and
very impressive.
Incredibly impressive. Shocked Belfast that night and really silenced the crowd and got the Lonsdale title that evening. Everyone thought there was going to be an instant rematch. That didn't come around. There was a lot of back and forth of when certain fights fell through. Rhys McKee fought Richie Smullen to a majority draw, so which a lot of people consider to be fight of the year last year. You wouldn't have known.
The people who saw it.
Who saw it, you wouldn't know because it wasn't shown on TV. And Rhys was always pushing for this rematch. He wanted to right this wrong, and for whatever reasons it didn't happen. But the rematch, Rob, happened this weekend. And it's something we talked about off air, Rob, just before we hit record there. It was almost like the same outcome, just reversed.
Yeah.
It looked a very similar fight to the extent of even how it ended up against the cage.
Yeah.
Rhys came in, was working his shot selection beautifully and got a cut or a graze just under the left eye of Tim Barnett very early in the fight, and you could see Tim was pawing at it straight away.
He was favouring it straight away.
And then Rhys hurt him a good few times with digging to the body, just mixing up his combinations, beautiful, staying long but staying composed, not rushing the finish. Tim Barnett, to his credit, was trying to get back in the fight. Rhys just didn't allow it, and the finish came at 4:30 of round one, and Rhys McKee was declared the BAMMA World Lightweight Champion, avenged the only loss on his career. Hugely impressive performance by Rhys McKee. For such a young man, I was so impressed with his composure on the big stage, fighting in Wembley against an opponent who's beaten him. He spoke brilliantly after it, and this is what I loved about Rhys. is a lot of fighters now in MMA, there's this trash talk side comes into it, which is entertaining and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the respect and how Rhys spoke afterwards towards Tim really, really impressed me. I was looking forward to it. We were meant to have Rhys on today, but obviously Rhys is in celebratory mode, and I believe he had a family due this evening, so we've postponed to another evening. So Rhys will be on with us again. But he just spoke so well after the fight about Tim, and he had sort of said, a lot of people thought I was making excuses the last time with being ill. Tonight, I think, showed they weren't excuses, they were legit. But how impressed with you by the performance of Rhys McKee, and what did you think of Tim Barnett? Rhys just hurt him early and just didn't allow Barnett into the fight.
Yeah, like one of the most impressive things I found was what you said. It was his composure when he had him hurt, because he hurt him really, really early. Yeah. And I think earlier in Rhys's career, and again, you can bring it down to Rhys not being fully fit in the first fight, but maybe he would have chased that finish a bit. Like he chased it. He did certainly chase it, but he stayed composed, stayed defensively sound, didn't blow out his gas tank. And even when he finished it, he wasn't like pressing the action so much that he couldn't, like if it went to another round, he would have been spent. You could see he was completely there. I wrote after it was the best Rhys McKee I've ever seen. Yeah. I agree with that, and I still think that, and it was something like sometimes you write that for about a lot of fighters, and I know like a lot of commentators say, oh, this is the best we've ever. Joe Rogan is mad for every single fight. Joe Rogan, like, this is the best we've ever seen him. But even looking back, rewatching the fight, I think that's the best we've ever seen Rhys McKee against a really tough guy who, again, you wrote it up, he has a huge future in the sport as well. Him and Rhys have a huge future. I just thought it was an absolutely brilliant performance. His composure to get the finish, his shot selection, thrown to the body. Those body shots could have finished Tim Barnett as well, not just the head shots. And I just thought it was so impressive that he had him hurt to the head, and then he went to the body, he went to the legs, he was throwing leg kicks, it was just a perfect performance. And I think he was the person who came out of that card with the biggest reputation, as in on the night. I think Terry Brazier was very impressive. We can talk a little bit about that, of course. But I just thought Tim Barnett coming out, Rhys McKee coming out of that one was just, he was the star of the show. I thought it was just a beautiful performance. Amazing.
I dare say it. You could say it flawless.
It was.
Like I'm sure Rodney Moore and Rhys will sit down, study the tape, and they might say, you could have done this or you could have done that. But from watching it, for me,
I didn't expect that.
I thought it was flawless.
I didn't expect that at all. Like not just because of the first fight, but Tim Barnett since. You watch his fights, he's an absolute killer. Yeah. He's like outside the cage, he's one of the nicest guys ever, as is Rhys. But it's just, I didn't expect it to be that easy.
Look, when you look at Tim's fight against Rhys, the first one,
and it wasn't easy, of course.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that David Hay actually
he said it after the fight.
It said a great fighter can make a good fighter look average.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I think Barnett was hurt early, and Rhys didn't allow him.
Exactly, didn't allow him to recover, which is what the best fighters do.
You have to look at Barnett's fight against Mario Zaid.
Yeah.
He knocked him out from guard.
Yeah.
When do you see that?
Never.
Like Tim Barnett is so cool and calm when he's in there. So that's even when I was watching the fight and I seen Barnett was hurt and I seen Rhys was at him, I was sort of saying to Rhys, you got to be careful here, because Tim is very composed.
He has heavy hands as well.
And he's very composed and relaxed. That it'll only take him a turn to, if it goes to the back, he'll take advantage. So I was like, Rhys needs to be careful of how Tim can just turn things around. Because if you remember that Zaid, I think, was going for the takedown. Barnett got in the position and then absolutely just knocked him out from guard. So Tim won the belt. He tried out for Tough.
Yeah.
He didn't get into Tough, and then he gets Rhys McKee. And a lot of people, I know this fight was to happen a lot of times, and there was a lot of short notice. And in hindsight, it was almost selfish from me as a fan or media watching the sport. I was like, I'd love to see McKee and Barnett go again. And there was talk of it in Bellator, BAMMA 32, was it? 33?
Yeah.
And Tim was there that night, and Rhys was there that night, both in attendance. We were talking to both separately, and I was sort of saying, would I love to see it? And Tim was sort of saying about, short notice or whatever, and Rhys was sort of saying, well, I took him on short notice, and we were just a little back and forth, open conversation. But I'm glad that it didn't happen in that sense. That both fighters had a full camp, and in a weird way, because I'm sure Tim Barnett, and Tim, if you're listening, like I'm sure Tim is thinking this as well, is that he wants his rematch.
Yeah.
But what's weird is I'd love both fighters to now go on their path because both of these guys are supremely talented fighters.
I get both arguments.
I would love to see this rematch.
Yeah, me too.
In the UFC.
I know what you mean.
Let them go off and have their career together.
My thing for the first one was that I'd love to see the immediate rematch just because both fights, as we said, were almost mirror images. Apart from the first fight, Rhys was pressing the action and landed some good shots and almost blew out his gas tank.
Yeah.
Whereas this one was a bit different where Tim didn't really get off. Kind of didn't put his foot on the pedal. And that could have been because of the good shot landed to the eye. But I just would love to see the rematch. But I completely get that argument as well. It's... you don't want to kill, not that you're going to kill anyone's momentum or you're going to kill any prospect there, but you don't want to ruin anything there. You don't want to really like just throw them in there against each fight, just throw them in there. So I get that argument as well, but what a fight.
And it was great. Like, and it was interesting. I'd love to, I'm sure we will have Tim on down the line as well, but I'd love to see, and that's, again, the respect goes both ways. Tim is one of the nicest, respectful fighters I've ever spoke to, and such a lovely guy outside the cage. And you know, there's no excuses. I haven't heard anything from the Barnett side.
And I will say as well,
when
you were speaking about when we were speaking about Tim and Rhys at the show, Rhys said, "Yeah, I'd love to have that fight." But he also came out and said that he understands why Tim didn't take the fight. Yeah. He understands it completely. So it's not like both are super nice.
Yeah, they are. Like these are two of the nicest guys you'd possibly meet.
Yeah.
But that's in a way. You want them to go off and have their career, and their career shouldn't be defined like what age is Tim? Tim is incredibly young as well. Tim's 28, and Rhys is what age is Rhys? Rhys is very young. I know.
Rhys is. Oh, geez,
I think Rhys. Jeez, Rhys.
He's 23. Is he 24?
22, 23, 24, in and around there. So I don't think like. My argument of them going on is I think both of these have, and I did say it, I can't remember if I tweeted or Facebook, I said two of these have huge futures in the sport, but you know it makes sense for the rematch as well because they were as the genius of mixed martial arts would say, the fights were virtually identical.
What before we move on to some of the other fights on the card, UFC in May or whatever it is, I think it's May, isn't it? They're thinking of doing UFC, or that's when it's reported
here.
Yeah, the Dublin
show.
BAMMA
just announced.
BAMMA as well.
May 12th.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's May. It's UFC are apparently coming over here soon. Is it too early for Rhys? Would you like to see Rhys personally for you? And maybe it's not too early in terms of his talent. I think he can compete with definitely some of the prelim guys, as in the lower end of that division. One of
the fights.
Do you feel for you? As somebody who's followed his career, would you like to see him do a bit more work outside the UFC? Because honestly, that's how I feel. I'd like to see him get on the Dublin card for BAMMA, win that fight, and then see what happens after that.
The fight to make, reset it. Paul Redmond.
Yeah.
If Rhys McKee and Paul Redmond were to fight, if Rhys McKee could beat Paul Redmond, he's ready for the UFC.
Yeah, that's a huge fight.
Because
that's a really, really
you
tough
look at
fight.
Redzer. I still stand by it. Redzer got a raw deal in the UFC. No,
definitely,
but he would take it every time, that raw deal, because it was the opportunity to get into the UFC.
But he did get a raw deal.
And like UFC coming back to Ireland would not surprise me if they signed Paul Redmond to fight on the card. Redzer is legit. He is one of
I think let's be honest,
one of the best in the world.
If they're going to sign anybody from Ireland right now, he's probably the guy that you have to sign. Yes. If you're the UFC.
Yes. Rhys McKee now holds a belt that is prestigious. The BAMMA world title is prestigious.
Yeah.
A lot of fighters, like you look at champions, like some of them weren't even world champions in BAMMA. Like you've Mark Diakese, who's in the UFC. Yes, he's lost a couple now. Paul Craig is in the UFC. Do you know what I mean? It is a route. It is there.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him defend that belt. And if that defense came against Paul Redmond, what a fight that would be.
If anything as well, just to be selfish, that we can continue to cover him in Ireland as well.
Yeah, but the mad thing about it is as well, is here's Rhys McKee taking on Paul Redmond if that fight was to happen. Again, two of the nicest guys in the sport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know, and it'll be ultimate respect. And you know, Redzer,
all super nice.
But Redzer's boxing is he's showcasing his last time out as well. But yeah,
his ground game
is phenomenal. You know what I mean? So a great fight if that was the fight to
crazy
have.
fight. Yeah, that's it.
Like a huge victory for Rhys McKee, and I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him defend it. And then, but like, look, if the UFC phone call comes, you can answer that
exactly,
call.
Yeah, it's one of them. But and Tim Barnett will be back as well.
Scott Coker was in attendance as well. So, you know, I know we're saying UFC, but Bellator are coming back
I'm pretty sure he called out Rhys McKee in the first Bellator event, didn't he? When we were at the presser.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he did. So yeah, he obviously has an eye on him as well. But
your co-main event for the evening, when Little Hey Boy, we were looking to have Dan on, but unfortunately not to beat this evening. Choi Lewis Perry taking on Stav Ikonomowu. Yeah. It ended, Rob, in illegal elbows. This is why I wanted referee's corner. Leon Roberts, one of the best referees, just simply to do it. But to me, it looked like Chad was landing the same elbows that Travis Brown was landing. Them sort of finishes. Now, I know Paddy was demonstrating on David Hay, and he loved that David had the war braids. He said, perfect, I've lines here. But he was saying, back of the head is the Mohican section, so you can elbow here, you can elbow here. To me, it was weird because Choi was landing them, and Stav only dropped after, he landed 2, I think. And then there was sort of a stop, and you could see that Choi was stood there waiting to go, will I elbow him again? And then Leon Roberts called time, and then Stav dropped to the ground. I thought they were legal. Now I want to watch it a bit more. I thought they were fine, the elbows. Because I have to say, I was watching it on ITV4, and they showed it. Whatever they showed it, and it was grand. I was going, it'll be interesting to see here. But this is the thing, this is where the whole Hector Lombard argument of last week and, being an insufferable moron comes into it, where, Choi is throwing them elbows, right? And Stav isn't a moving target. So it's not like the Josh Emmett incident where he was moving and them elbows were landing on a moving opponent. Stav had his head in, working on a takedown, and Choi threw them. So he intended to elbow him.
Yes.
So if it was deemed that they were illegal strikes, why was it a no contest?
Because it was a bad decision, in my opinion. I think they were illegal.
I think they were illegal?
I think they were illegal. I think...
You said legal or illegal?
Illegal.
Okay.
Illegal. I think it should have been disqualification. I think...
But that's what... If it was no contest... Why? Because it says no contest, illegal blows.
They went with unintentional, I think. But
they were 100% were intentional because he was throwing the elbow.
I also... they were 12-6 as well, which I hate that rule, but it is a rule.
Were they 12-6?
They were 12-6. 100% 12-6.
See, I watched it live and I didn't see the replays.
Yeah.
So
they were 12-6 elbows. I hate that rule. It makes no sense. If he went down like this, if he went down like this, they're not illegal.
But that's what I thought when I thought he was. Did he?
They were,
all right, fair enough.
They were 12-6 and they do hit the back of the head. I don't think there's any other way you can the fighter wasn't moving.
Then why is it not?
I think it was a bad decision. I think it was a bad decision for me.
Because when it happened, I was like, that's a DQ, and then I heard no contest. I was like,
it was a strange one. I thought it should have been a DQ.
They're calling them an illegal elbow, and they were intentional because
of course
he was looking at his target.
Yeah,
we talked this, and this is a little bit last week why I went a little over, well, not overboard. Why I was quite opinionated in the Hector Lombard thing is because Hector Lombard was countering and he was throwing and he was in thing. While in this, Choi looked at his target. He addressed his target.
Yeah.
And he landed the shot on the target where he was throwing. So, how was that not intent? How was it a no contest?
I don't get it.
Because he intentionally threw that elbow.
I don't know. I guess the whole idea was that maybe he was aiming for somewhere else. I don't agree with this. Maybe what they were thinking was he was aiming for the side of the head and hit, but it was. I think it should have been illegal strikes. It should have been a DQ in my opinion.
When I looked at it originally, you were telling me it was 12-6. I didn't see the replay, so I'm looking at what I'm looking at live. I thought they were fine. I thought it was very similar to Travis Brown throwing them against Barnett. But
they could have came from 11:30, but it was close enough.
Yeah, okay. But no, that was it. But yeah, so it's a no contest, so I'll probably do it again. Your main event of the evening, seeing Terry Brazier claim the world title, beating Alex the Kid Lohore. Rob, what was your thoughts on this? And again, this is the 3 5-minute rounds.
Yeah, I don't like the
Come on, BAMMA. Come on, lads.
I don't like the
5-5s.
The 3 rounds.
5.
I agree with the decision. I thought it was a very close fight. I pretty much agree with the decision. Terry Brazier, I just thought landed the better shots. I think over 5 rounds, Alex Lohore probably would have been able to edge it because I think he just had a little bit more left in him. But Terry Brazier was just landing the better shots. It was typical Brazier performance, good performance. But it was a good fight. I don't have a huge opinion on exactly what happened in the fight, to be honest. But it was.
I tell you, Terry Brazier has a intriguing story.
Yeah,
you
he
see
does.
the backstory
Yeah,
about
yeah,
serving in the military and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Like I know, I was expecting it, and it happened straight away. Richard Kiley, straight on Facebook with the hide and seek champion Terry Brazier and stuff. Yeah. But I thought it was an excellent performance. I thought like Terry Brazier to beat Alex Lohore is an excellent
Alex
performance.
Lohore has been overlooked by a lot of people.
Yeah, so big win for Terry Brazier. I'd love to have Terry on and chat to him about his career. So Terry,
let's do it.
This is the open invite to you. We'll hit you up. Come on to obviously Fight Talk. But Alex Lohore, as well as talking about moving up,
get the selfie king to tag him on.
Yeah,
on
that's
Twitter.
it. Farrell, do your work. Alex Lohore said he wants to fight Fabian Edwards next.
Wow.
Move up.
I'd like that. I think that's a good matchup. I think Fabian Edwards is going to be looking for a step up in competition, and let's talk about that fight as well. Fabian Edwards, again, absolutely
Rob, that's what I was doing there, Rob. That was a transition. Thanks, Rob.
Great performance for Fabian Edwards.
Yeah.
It looked like he got clipped-ish.
I think
slipped.
I think he was caught square-footed.
Yeah, I think it was more of a slip. Like it was. He got hit, but it was more of a slip. But then immediately got the takedown, immediately got the submission. There seems to be a trend.
Yeah.
Just gets the takedown, gets the submission. Again, great
He was
performance.
fighting well. He was fighting smart because Kent is, is fought as heavy as heavyweight.
Yeah.
He has power in his hands. You could see he was looking to hit that fastball, home run, overhand or hooks. And Fabian was aware of it, was working nicely, head body, and just getting back, getting in, scored out.
He's definitely somebody to look at.
He got clipped, but I don't think it was a flash knockdown.
I don't think it was.
I think it was just sort of caught off balance and square.
To be fair, he immediately hit the floor and immediately got a takedown. If you were hurt, I don't think that would have happened. So excellent performance by Fabian Edwards.
Freak show as well.
Freak show, excellent. Yeah, lovely armbar.
Gets a big win.
And Steve O'Keefe is back as well.
Loving O'Keefe, me. But Fletcher, just on that was a fight that got stopped in Birmingham from illegal elbows from Fletcher.
Yeah.
And it looked like Walter Gazada was Gadza was going to take over. He was landing big shots on Fletcher, but man, Fletcher can take a dig.
Yeah, and he's shown a submission, game off his back.
Beautiful.
One of his big problems in the UFC, and then afterwards was just getting taken down and not being able to do anything.
And I absolutely loved Paddy Holohan's interview, and he basically called him a nut job in the cage. You imagine Fletcher, you're a
mad bastard. He basically said that. Yeah,
it was absolutely fantastic. Dominic Wooding, unbelievable flying knee.
There was
and punches. Dominic
Wooding, to be fair on that one though, it looked like from the beginning Dominic Wooding was just on a completely different level in the game. It was just one-way traffic, but wonderful performance. Wonderful performance.
But that was BAMMA, and of course BAMMA have now announced May 12th that they're returning to Dublin. The 3 Arena, it is 3 Arena announced, didn't they? So it'll be interesting to see fights that will be announced coming off that. But a bit of a weird one and a tough one. We're gonna now move on to Cage Legacy 7. Cage Legacy 7 has had Cage Legacy 8 and Newry booked for a long time on the 12th of May.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So
man,
Damien Rooney's fighting on that, Decky McAleenan's fighting on that. So there's a lot of local guys from Newry up there.
And guys who fought on BAMMA as well.
Yeah, so be interesting to see the card, see what fighters are.
Is that gonna be moved, or it's definitely gonna take place?
Going ahead, May 12th. Well, they're not in direct competition.
Not direct competition,
I think,
but it's 2 big MMA shows.
Exactly. BAMMA coming. Be interesting. But at the end of the day, Rob, if you're smart, you'll know that Cage Legacy will have MC Noel O'Keefe on the mic.
yeah.
And Noel O'Keefe in commentary.
Yeah.
Alongside Keith Kavanagh. So in your heart which is the better show to attend.
BAMMA.
Joking. There ain't no show like a Noel show. But yeah, speaking of Cage Legacy, I don't know if they are going to move. I was just briefly speaking with Darren and Decky about it when the announcement came.
But by all accounts, last weekend's show was...
Oh my. Cage Legacy 7 went down in the Barbican Centre in our theatre in Drogheda, and it did not disappoint. The main event was Pedro Carvalho taking on Ibrahim Dr. Giggles Kantiev. Kantiev is 7-0 coming into this fight. Fights out of Fight Team Burkett's, which is Fight Team Eagle. I believe he's trained alongside Khabib as well. But
Nurmagomedov.
He's undefeated Russian fighter basically, so you know what you're getting here. Pedro Carvalho, this is his second fight out of SBG. He only joined SBG not too long ago, moved over from Portugal. His first fight was at Cage Legacy 4 against Jenderson Castro that he won. But man, I don't think Fight Star have put it up yet. But go on to you. It was streaming live on Fight Star Media's YouTube channel. But go on and look at this fight. Pedro Carvalho. It's something I said is remember the name, write it down if must. It was
Spell it.
It was Carvalho. Carvalho. But Pedro Carvalho, the Ibrahim was really pushing for takedowns in the opening round, Rob, and then it reminds you in a way when Max Holloway and what's his name, where they pointed at the canvas and said, "Let's go." Who's that?
Jeremy Stevens?
No, that wasn't against Jeremy Stevens. Was it? That was against
I'll get you.
who?
Ricardo Lamas.
Nah, that's it. Ricardo Lamas. It was almost like that. They got separated by the referee, Marius Damasat, and Ibrahim landed a beautiful shot that made Pedro fall onto his knees. And as I said to you earlier, Rob, I said it was almost like that turned the fight switch on in a, oh yeah, we're in a scrap now. And one of the wildest exchanges to finish a round happened. I don't know how Ibrahim did not go down in that. An incredible main event. Pedro Carvalho showed he belongs at the highest levels in mixed martial arts. He's a fighter that we were due to have on here 2 weeks ago. The week Ben was on as well. But Pedro definitely be coming on the show soon. Yeah. But he's a fighter to keep your eye out on. He's the real deal. He's only young. I thought Pedro was a lot older than he actually was. I think it's just the beard. He just makes him look older. But he's only like 22 years of age. An absolute stonewall killer. And
he's good growth on the beard, isn't it?
He's 2-0 as well, Rob, in taking the mic off me mid interview. But what did he say? His interview, he said something like, "I will make all lightweights bend the knee and worship me," or something like that. And so he's got that side of it as well.
Got the gimmick.
But incredible main event. Other notables on the card was Marcin Zambala taking on Dylan Logan. An excellent fight between two young talented fighters. You might say, I said it to Dylan after I was chatting with him just briefly, and I was like, I think all the judges had you up on the scorecards. And Marcin in the third round got the victory by rear naked choke. Wow. It looked like Dylan just ran out of gas in the third round. The shots he was throwing just coming a little slower. Marcin took advantage of it, but some of the scrambles and the technique on the mat, Rob, absolutely phenomenal. Dylan got a reverse where he was, whatever way, I don't even know how to describe it. Dylan was on the bottom, and whatever he done, he all of a sudden ended up in the full mount, I think, of Marcin Zambala. It was just some of the jiu-jitsu was absolutely fantastic. Dylan now falls to 2-3 as a pro, but so young as well. That was Marcin's first victory as a pro as well. He's now 1-2, but incredibly talented. I think the biggest pop of the night, though, for the crowd, apart from obviously the fight we'll talk about in a minute, but the actual IMAF trial for the lightweights to represent Ireland. Lee Hammond took on Jack Monaghan. Now I know, Rob, you've had a chance to
caught that one,
to watch this one, but Jack Monaghan was 6-0 undefeated amateur, and Lee Hammond, I said it, there was a bit of a break at the show, and I said, look, folks, we'll be back in about 15 minutes, get refreshments in, but come back because the next fight is two of the best fighters in the country. And I was like, I'm not overselling this, and the fight delivered. Phenomenal. You could see Lee Hammond was landing a lot of leg kicks in commentary. I had alluded to in his corner were Kiefer Crosby and Keane Cowley along with John Kavanagh, and I was saying, them leg kicks, that's Keane Cowley all day, you know what I mean? But the looks of it, and you can see like Kiefer's an absolute killer on his feet as well, but Lee, when he kept going to a Kimura grip as well to get sweeps and stuff, but phenomenal.
He's mad creative off his back, isn't he? All the submissions he goes for, the scrambles, it's very difficult to hold him in place. And I think a lot of people will look at it and say, Jack Monaghan, like, why were you going for the takedowns? But then when you look at it,
MMA court, though, that's their
two rounds. It's 2 rounds in an amateur. So you look at it, 2 rounds. Can you get on top?
Three
was it 3 rounds?
Yeah,
3 2-minute rounds. Yeah,
Three trees.
If you can get on top for those 3 minutes, you have a huge advantage. Maybe you feel like because you're coming from a jiu-jitsu background as well, maybe you feel you can take control of most of the round and win rounds. So that's probably his idea as well. And Lee Hammond started well on the feet. He was landing them big leg kicks. Probably didn't like the feel of those either. So just how creative Hammond is off his back, and beautiful choke to finish it as well.
What I loved about the choke was the intricacies of it, the slight adjustments.
Yeah.
You get into a position, wait that little second as Jack would move a small bit, just tighten it up just a little bit.
There was also a little moment where he kind of fell off his back and he had the grip very tightly, and he got back on his back, got the hook in, and set up the choke. It was beautiful. It was a great fight to watch.
So Lee Hammond now represents Ireland in the IMAFs as well, so congratulations to Lee. But Jack Monaghan, again, at amateur level,
No shame.
Not a lot of fighters stay undefeated at amateur, but Jack Monaghan is an absolute beast and one for the future. But a really special moment for everyone in attendance as well that night was the return of a national treasure.
Yeah.
A pioneer of
Nicolas Cage. National treasure.
Irish mixed martial arts, the hooligan, Paddy Holohan, stepped back into a cage on Saturday night.
I love though that there was like people. I didn't think you could compete again in MMA.
Yeah,
it's grappling.
That was my sister. Idiot. Yeah, Paddy took on Dave Roach in a BJJ super match, and it was EBI rules. They went the full 10 minutes. And I went to 3 rounds of overtime for the quickest submission or quickest escape, and Paddy won it in overtime. But what I loved about it was, like, I've never introduced Paddy, so from a personal thing, that was deadly introducing Paddy. Yeah. But just the noise level of when Paddy was walking to the cage was absolutely insane. And when he stepped in, he still done the same, went in and sprinted around the cage, and you're like, man, you know, Paddy Holohan's back, you know. Yeah. Huge support from Paddy's gym, Dublin, SPG Dublin 24 in attendance. But Paddy, man, is just, I got to speak with him briefly, and I just sort of said, you know, with the way Paddy's career ended, to me this felt like a special moment that people got to see Paddy again, you know. I'd say Paddy will compete regularly now in the likes of jits comps and stuff like that, like super matches like that. Why not? What I loved about it as well, it's just it's Paddy's personality. When Dave had him in an armbar, and look, I was like, oh, that armbar's in, you know. And he got out of it, but as he got out of it, he stood up and does a little dance and taps the thing as in, going, nobody's breaking that or something. But the pop was absolutely incredible. Brilliant. But I think it's something I said on Facebook. I tend to, you know, the next day after I do a show, I tend to say, you know, what a great night, and you know, it's not meant. It's always meant, you know. But what I said was,
this was meant more.
Yeah, no, but no. What I said in this one was, I said, you know, Deck and Sonic deserve so much credit, for putting on the amount of shows they're putting on in Ireland. Big time. You know what I mean? They're adhering to all the new regulations. They have the best safety in mind. They look after the fighters. The best. Officials cage side, medics cage side, best MC, the best commentator. No, but all joke. Now all that obviously best MC. Whatever.
How did I know that was coming?
Joking, but they deserve a lot of credit because
they do.
You know, if you go back 5-6 years ago,
the only problem it's in Drogheda. It's the only problem.
If you go back 5 years ago or so, there was a lot of MMA shows where it was literally let's just stick a cage in a sports hall and we can have an MMA show.
And it was kind of felt for a while as well that wasn't going to happen, that you weren't going to get a show that was going to stick around and do loads of shows, and it's happening.
But the thing of what they're doing brilliantly as well is their Cage Legacy is on tour. Like, it's been in Cork, it's been in Newry, it's been in Drogheda, it's been in Dundalk. So it's
to Ballybuck or something.
Yeah, no, but it's you got to give it to them. The lads are giving fighters a platform.
Absolutely, it's great.
And I'm very proud to be a part of Cage Legacy. They're a great team to work with, and well done, lads, and keep it up, because they really are giving the young fighters of this country the opportunity to fight. So well done, lads. Yeah. We look forward to Cage Legacy 8, which at the moment is scheduled for May 12th. By all accounts, nothing's changing. And it'll be a cracker. Decky McAleenan and Rooney on the one card. Nori will be hopping.
Yeah.
But so that's basically our weekend roundup. You'll go and check out the fights. If you missed any of the fights, go and check them out. I was looking forward to calling Yogerty Dave Fogarty, but unfortunately his opponent pulled out injured as well. But hopefully Ben Forsyth, that was the fight that Ben Forsyth, the card that Ben Forsyth was meant to be on. So hopefully Ben gets matches as well, either here or the UK or China or anywhere in the world. Ben just wants to fight. So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah. And what we're going to do to finish this off, just because for about 5 minutes, we've covered everything we need to cover. Unfortunately, our Skype is down, not on these ones, but on our master system, we'll call it. Yeah. It's down, so we can't call anybody. We're supposed to have Daniel Mulvahedi on, and supposed to have Phil Campbell
to
talk
about
Cage Legacy.
Clan Wars. Cage Legacy on the mind.
Cage Legacy on the mind. So what we're going to do for a quick 5 minutes, I'm going to go through Reddit, and I'm going to pick out some stories because a couple of things have come out since we've been speaking. Demetrius Johnson told Ariel Helwani, I assume it was on the MMA Hour, that discussions regarding the potential TJ Dillashaw fight have gone dormant as of late. I spoke to Dillashaw on Friday and he said the same, 0 updates, I don't get it. This is still the number one fight I want to see right now. So it looks like Dillashaw and Mighty Mouse is off for the moment, or it's not going to happen. Again, for me, it was one of them fights that I wasn't really pushing for.
This was the one super fight that I disagreed with.
Yeah, I disagreed with. So if they say Dillashaw is going to fight Jimmy Rivera, maybe. I think Jimmy might be booked as well, actually. Or Mighty Mouse is going to fight somebody else. I don't really mind. But it's interesting to see that's potentially not going to happen, or at least the talks are slowing down at least.
Again, I'm very public in that I think TJ just won the belt. I can understand DJ having a super fight because he's super. He's beaten all people who are staking claim at his title. TJ Dillashaw has just won it, albeit in a fantastic fight against Cody. But I would like to see him defend, be it against Dom Cruz, Jimmy Rivera, whoever. I just would like to see a champion defend his belt a couple of times. So I disagree with that as a main, as a super fight. Yeah,
one thing that I saw on Twitter today, I shared it on the Facebook page. If you don't follow us on Facebook or like us on Facebook, go check it out. Rory McDonald commented on a article that got put up about Mousasi saying that you wanted to fight him, and he said, I agreed to fight the winner of Carvalho versus Mousasi for their middleweight championship after I defend my title at 170. Hopefully it will go down the same night at Bellator 200. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
That's a great card.
Yeah, it's a great card.
What date is that?
May, is it May? Yeah. So Rory versus either Mousasi or Carvalho, both are brilliant fights.
I was thinking timeline, getting over to that Bellator.
Yeah. Especially for Crow Cop. And
yeah, Jose Aldo said it was a mistake for Frankie Edgar to fight Brian Ortega. Jeez, Jose, you think?
Hindsight. Captain Hindsight. What was that in? That was in some show. Yeah, it was. Although Frankie probably wouldn't come out and say that. Frankie would say, I'm glad I took the fight. I got money and I think I would have won the fight on a different night.
Hindsight is like, Jose, if you said this a week of the fight when it hasn't taken place, probably carried more weight. But when everybody's seen what happened and going, it was a mistake to take that. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Same way to push that fart when it ended up being a poo, It's only hindsight allows it.
Another thing I just saw there was Tai Tuivasa, who I'm a big fan of. He's looking like an excellent heavyweight coming up. He just said that he's looking to shake up the heavyweight division. The whole division is boring, and I think it's something. I think I bring something new, and I want to run with it.
Excuse the pun, but it carries a bit of weight. That
was awful.
I was only starting to say it, and I realised this is a bad pun. But heavyweight division has always sort of been like that. That there's always the top 4 or 5 guys. It's very hard at them weight classes to have
a big bunch
high
of
level guys. You're gonna have the same few names that the new up and comer will come up against them, and they'll just like wipe the floor with them. And you go, oh yeah, all right, fair enough. So he has got a point, and yeah, interesting. But will he break that? It's almost like football again. Your top four. Will he break the top 4?
I hope so, because he's an interesting guy. Yeah. I don't think he's ready to break that top 4 now, but I hope he does, because the heavyweight division really needs some new blood, and he's also not just a good fighter and a very exciting fighter. He's a pretty interesting character. He has a podcast, and everybody knows that people who have podcasts are interesting characters.
Roy Nelson on Matt Mitrione. Did you see this one? God.
Oh, there was
yeah. I think this is on Reddit. Roy Nelson and Matt Mitrione. I think he's still upset because he's cheating on his wife and stuff. That's all I heard that whole week was him cheating on his wife.
What is this?
It's weird.
Like OK Magazine.
Talking,
it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's fucking silly.
It's weird.
Comment below. What do you think? Is Matt Mitrione cheating on his wife?
No. Do you know? Here's
he said he was cheating in the
too much. As in, The trash
There you
talk.
go.
At the moment, you've Colby Compton who talked about.
Yeah, he goes too far.
Like when he said about Mike Perry's missus, they're now broke up. Platinum
Yeah,
Perry's missus broke
yeah.
up, said he's a wondering eye,
Yeah.
and he came back as classy as Mike Perry is you could ever expect from.
What
Mike
did he- I didn't
Perry.
see
Goes,
what I was doing.
I only fucked you. You were always a side bitch.
Fuck off.
Now, if that doesn't ring class,
We sound like girls talking about gossip, but that's
but that's what I mean. Isn't trash talking and being the heel gone to this weird level?
Yeah.
Like, why does Roy Nelson care? Like, don't get me wrong. As a married man with values, if he is, you're a scumbag.
Yeah.
But what's that got to do with fighting, Roy Nelson?
I don't know.
But Colby Compton, I think every time he trash talks, he sort of goes overboard. But it's weird, isn't it? It got to the stage where trash talk is fun when it's people doing it good, but it goes too far.
Like Kobe Covington is just being just doing it just for the crack. Like at this point, it's not clever. It's just doing it just to do it. But yeah, that's it.
Reading Reddit.
Kind of reading Reddit.
Started reading just the stories coming in, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously Fight Talk episode 105. It was in your life. We're slowly sliding out of it now as we're coming near the end. But a shout out to Fight Store Ireland, the fighter's choice. Everything you need under 2 roofs to MMAmix.com. They're obviously good because they're with obviously Fight Talk and feelsupreme.co.uk. Want 10% off? Use the code FightTalk at the checkout. Get 10% off all products. Check them out. I'm ordering myself some Shroom Energy stuff. This Synergy, the mushroom Synergy.
Yeah.
Gonna order some of that for the old concentration, Malark.
All right.
It's meant to be very good. Gives you more stamina.
Stamina. Elocution lessons.
Stamina. See, that's why I need it, because my brain goes tired.
Yeah.
But yeah.
My brain goes tired.
My brain goes, no, you're not saying them words
Sound like
correctly.
Bobby Boucher.
But go check them out. And if you haven't, hit subscribe below.
Give us a share.
And check us out on audio as well. We're available on iTunes on all formats. It's been a weird one, Rob, because just like that song, it was just the two of us.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
We can make it if we try, just the two of us. You and I. See you next week.